in this video lecture we will go through the applications of colloids. Right now we are towards the end of our chapter colloids. So whatever we would be discussing in this lecture, which is application of colloids, we have already done this in one or the other lecture in the previous video lectures. Right. So here the topic is application of colloids. Right. The first application that we would be seeing is food. Right, in food articles. Food articles, if you remember, we have discussed this before, like ice cream, right, egg albumin, right, all these are colloidal particles which we eat in our day-to-day life, right, and your milk, fruit juices, right, butter, milk and butter. Milk was very important example that we have discussed, right. Milk is a colloidal solution, right, in which liquid fat is dispersed in water, right. So this is an emulsion, and which is stabilized by a protein we have discussed known as casein, right. And egg albumin, if you remember, egg albumin is a colloidal solution, right. It's kind of a colloid, right. So if you remember, when we fry egg, right, that's this egg albumin gets coagulated. What was the reason? The reason was, if you remember, if this is an egg albumin, it contains colloidal particles. Say these are positively or whatever negatively charged colloidal particles. So egg albumin, when this is not fried, when egg albumin is not fried, it remains as a colloid, right? And we know that similarly charged colloidal particles have same charge, right, on all the particles. So colloidal particles experiences a force of repulsion. A repulsive force would be experienced by these two colloidal particles when they try to come close to one another, right. So due to which colloidal particles doesn't come close enough so as to get coagulated, right. But when you fry this egg albumin, when you fry the egg albumin, what happens is the kinetic energy of these colloidal particles, right, will increase, right. So when kinetic energy will increase, they will gain enough kinetic energy that they would be able to overcome the force of repulsion due to same charges on the colloidal particles. So when they overcome the force of repulsion, they would be able to come close to one another, right, and will get coagulated, right. So due to frying, coagulation of egg albumin takes place, right. Coagulation of egg albumin takes place, and we know that milk is a coagulation it's a colloid, right, in which liquid fat is dispersed in water, right, and this colloid is stabilized by protein casein. That is why milk on standing, it doesn't coagulate, right, at a very high speed, because of the protein casein that will protect the colloidal solution, or that acts as a stabilizing factor for milk, which is a colloidal solution, right. So these are examples. In ice cream, we know that ice cream is a colloidal solution, right. Ice cream is a colloidal solution of ice in water, ice in cream, I'm sorry. This is a colloidal solution of ice in cream, right. You disperse ice in cream where it forms ice cream, right. So these are some common examples of applications of colloids in food articles, right, that we see in our day-to-day life. Then we have second application is medicines, right. Many medicines, when taken in colloidal form, they are easily absorbed by our system. They are easily assimilated by our system, by our digestive system, right. So some medicines, let's write it over here. Some medicines in colloidal form gets easily assimilated Assimilated means get easily absorbed, right? For example, there are some examples of medicines like colloidal antimony used to cure a disease called Kala-Azar, right? So one is your colloidal antimony, right, which is used to treat disease called Kala-Azar. The second is colloidal gold, right, which is used for intermuscular injections, right? The injection that that doctors inject in your muscles, right, that contains your colloidal gold, right? Colloidal antimony. Then you have colloidal gold, right? AU stands for gold, right? And then you have milk of magnesia from stomach disorders, right? Milk of magnesia, magnesium hydroxide. Milk of magnesia is, we know, is a base, right? So when you have stomach upset, right, when there is acid in the stomach, right, you feel irritation, right, in stomach. Now what you do is you take milk of magnesia, which is a colloidal solution, so it will neutralize the acid in your stomach, right? So these are common examples in medicine industry of colloidal solutions, right? Then we have one important application, formation of curd from milk, right? You know that if you make curd from milk, right, if you add a little curd in more quantity of milk, you will see that after couple of hours, or say after 7-8 hours, the entire milk will get converted into curd, right? What is the reason for that? We say it as curdling of milk, where we make curd from milk, right? We make curd from milk. We know that milk is colloidal solution, right? Milk is a colloidal solution. It's a liquid, right? And if you look at curd is thick, right? It's kind of a precipitate or coagulation of milk, right? When milk gets coagulated, it forms what you call it as curd, right? So milk is a colloidal solution, and your curd contains acid, lactic acid, right? And this lactic acid contains ions, right? And we know that colloidal, since milk is a colloidal solution, it has a charge on it, right? So when you add little curd to milk, right, to convert the entire milk into curd, this curd contains lactic acid, which contains ions, right? So these ions will neutralize the colloidal particles in milk, right? So when the acid, right, when the ions from acid which is present in milk, in curd, right, is added to water, right? When you add curd to milk, right, there is an acid in this curd, and this acid contains ions. Ions are charged, right? And this milk, this is also charged because milk is a colloidal solution, so it has colloid particles which are charged. So these ions from this acid will neutralize the colloidal particles in milk. When it will neutralize the colloidal particles in milk, the colloidal particles will coalesce, will come together, and they form curd, right? So curd is coagulation of milk, right? So here we say that acid present in curd will coagulate milk, right? Which has milk, we know that milk has charged colloidal particles, right? So addition of curd will result into coagulation of colloidal particles in milk. So that is how curd is formed from milk, right? So this is important application. One is one more, sewage disposal, right? Sewage disposal. How sewage is disposed? Sewage it contains impurities, right, which are charged, right? Dirt particles, which are, sewage is the dirt particles dispersed in water, right? Sewage is what? Sewage is your dirt particles dispersed in water, right? Dirt, so this is a colloidal solution where dirt particles, these are colloidal particles dispersed in water, which is a dispersion medium. So this is a colloidal system, right? So we know that we have done one electrophoresis, if you remember, electrophoresis or cataphoresis, right? So these dirt particles are negatively charged, right? And we know that the colloidal particles, right, can be made to move towards one of the electrodes when electricity is applied across colloidal solution, right? When you apply electricity across colloidal solution, we know that colloidal particles in colloidal solution have a charge on them, right? So when you apply electricity, these charged colloid particles will start moving towards one of the electrodes, right? And since this colloidal system, which is dirt particles dispersed in water, these dirt particles have negative charge, right? So when you apply electric current to this colloidal solution, right, these negatively charged dirt particles will move towards your oppositely charged electrode, right? So it will move towards oppositely charged electrodes. So when it will move towards one of the electrodes, right, it will lose, these colloidal particles will lose its charge, right, and will get coagulated, right? And you will see that when it gets coagulated, it will get deposited, right? These dirt particles will get deposited, right, and you can remove these dirt particles. So this is how sewage disposal or sewage water is purified using electrophoresis, right? So coagulated sol particles, you will obtain coagulated sol particles at the electrode. Here I write coagulated sol or colloid particles will move towards electrodes and lose its charge forming a precipitate or a coagulate, right? So this is how sewage water, the dirt particles present in sewage water is removed, right, using technique called electrophoresis, right? Electrophoresis, where we apply electric current across colloidal solution. Sewage water is a colloidal solution. So when you apply electric current across in this colloidal system of sewage water, the dirt particles will move towards the electrodes and get coagulated and will settle down, and hence you can remove the impurities that get settled down, and this way what you do is you purify it. Now you have purification of water. You can purify water. There is one application, purification of water, right, using alum. We know that alum contains aluminium ions, right? So water that contains negatively charged impurities, right? Negatively charged impurities are your colloidal particles, right? Those are colloid particles, negatively charged. So when you add alum to impure water, this alum will neutralize the colloidal particles, right, in this impure water. When the colloidal particles, right, when aluminium ion will neutralize the colloidal particles in water, the colloidal particles will settle down, right, will coagulate and settle down, and the water can be decanted, right? That is, you will perform decantation of water once these impurities are settled down in the form of a coagulate or a precipitate, right? When your aluminium ions will neutralize the charge on the colloidal particles, which are impurities in water, right? So when charge will get removed, the impurities will come close to one another, right? Because it is no longer a colloidal particle. So the impurities, the particles of the particles of impurities will come close together, will form bigger particle, will precipitate and settle down, and you can remove the impurities, right, which gets settled down. Then you have cleansing action of soap. Cleansing action of soap we have already understood, right? Cleansing action of soap, I have made one video on cleansing action of soap. You can watch that video if you want to know this in detail. When you add soap to water, right, we know that soap is a sodium salt of higher fatty acid, right, stearic acid, right? So when you add sodium stearate, right, sodium stearate is a salt of higher fatty acid, stearic acid, sodium salt of stearic acid, which is sodium stearate. So when you add soap, which is sodium stearate, in water it will dissociate to form stearate ions and sodium ions, right? And we know how stearate ions will associate, right, and form micelles, right, which are colloidal particles, and micelles will help removing dirt particles from cloths, right? And that is how soap, right, which is a colloidal solution, help removing dirt particles from cloths, right, by forming micelles. So micelles will help removing grease or oil particles from cloth, right? This is an important application. Then you have something known as artificial rain, right? Artificial rain, how do you do this artificial rain? Artificial rain is, you know that clouds are colloidal particles of water, right? Clouds are colloidal particles of water. So if you have these colloidal particles of water in cloud, say this is your cloud, right? And we know that colloidal particles carry some charge. Let's say they have positive charge on them, right? And we know that as per stability of colloidal solutions, whenever these particles will try to come close to one another, they will repel one another due to same charge on all the particles, right? So what you do is, in order to make artificial rain, you add or you throw sand. Artificial rain can be caused by throwing electrified sand, right, from an aeroplane. What you do is, some scientists go by aeroplane above these clouds, right, and then they throw electrified sand. Electrified sand has some charge on it, right? And we know that we need a charge to coagulate the colloidal particles. So this system of colloidal solution, which is a colloidal particles of water, right? So when you throw electrified sand in these clouds, right, this electrified sand will remove charge from this colloidal water particles, right? When charge is removed from these water particles, colloidal water particles, now they can come close to one another, right, to form bigger particles, right? So when these small water particles will combine to form bigger particles, they form water, right? So that will come down, right, in the form of rain. So this is how artificial rain is caused, right? Then you have soils. You know, soils, there's one more application, soils, right? Soils are also colloidal solutions, right? Colloidal solutions. So due to the colloidal nature, right, it absorbs nutrients, right? The soil absorbs moisture and nourishing materials, right, on account of its colloidal nature, right? This is quite simple. Then you have blue color of sky. This is important. Blue color of sky. We have done this in one of the lectures. Blue color of sky, right? Why sky appears blue, right? We know that air has dust particles, right? So we know that colloidal solution has a property to scatter the light. Colloidal particles scatter light because of their bigger size. Normal particles in true solution doesn't scatter light because they are very small in size, whereas colloidal particles we know are bigger than particles in true solution, right? So when light is passed through colloidal solution, it will disperse light, right, depending on the wavelength, right? So why does sky appear blue? That is the question. We know that scattering as per Rayleigh principle is inversely proportional to 1 upon 4 times of wavelength, right? And we know that as per VIBGYOR, blue light has minimum wavelength. Blue light has minimum wavelength, right? So since as per Rayleigh relation, scattering is inversely proportional to fourth power of wavelength, fourth power of lambda, which is wavelength, right? So here blue color has minimum wavelength. Minimum wavelength means maximum scattering, right? So when light particles, when light will strike these colloidal particles, right, it will disperse light of different wavelength, but the maximum scattering, right, it will scatter, when light from sun, right, will travel through air, it will strike with the dust particles which are in air, right? And we know that dust particles are colloidal particles, and colloidal particles have property of scattering the light, right? And as per this VIBGYOR, blue color light which has minimum wavelength will undergo maximum scattering as per Rayleigh's relation, which is scattering is inversely proportional to 1 upon lambda 4. So the blue light will undergo maximum scattering, right, which enters our eye, due to which sky appears blue, right? And this is based on the important principle that colloidal particles scatter light, right? That is why colloidal particles appear colored to us, right? So this is also one of the important applications. Then you have fog and mist, right? Fog and mist is also does fog and mist, right? Mist is, when air containing dust particles, right, is cooled below the dew point, right? When air is cooled, right, the moisture from the air condenses on the surface of these particles, forming fine droplets. If you have these particles in air, right, and you lower down the temperature of air, what happens is water will condense onto these particles, forming small droplets, fine droplets, right? Now these droplets being colloidal in nature, right, continue to float in air in the form of fog, right? So it's these droplets, right, these small droplets are colloidal in nature, right? And we know that colloidal particles will remain suspended in solution or in air, right? And these colloidal particles are what? Where water, right, water from air is deposited on the dust particles, which is your fog, right? Since when water will condense on the dirt particles, it will form colloidal particles, right, which will remain suspended in air, which is your fog, right? So this is again an important application, fog and mist, right? When air containing the particles, right, is cooled down, right? When air is cooled down, air contains particles, right? When air is cooled down, the water will condense, right, on the surface of these particles which are present in air, right? And when water will condense on these particles, right, they will form colloidal particles, and we know that colloidal particles will remain scattered or suspended in air, right? So what we call that as, when water condenses on these particles, it will become fog, right, which will keep moving in air, right? And if you when vehicles that are passing through fog, you will see that when a car throws light in the fog, right, that entire path will become visible. Why? Because now the fog, which is your colloid, which consists of colloidal particles, when light will strike these colloidal particles, it will scatter. When light will scatter, the path will become visible, right? That is why in foggy areas you will see that when you drive car and when you switch on lights, right, the entire path will become visible because of the colloidal fog particles, right, which will scatter the light. Right, then you have something called as now you have what we call it as formation of deltas, right? This is little important and interesting. Formation of deltas, right? When river water, formation of delta when river water mixes with seawater or meets seawater, where river water and seawater, right, mixes up, you will see a delta, the kind of deltas there, right? We'll just understand delta is kind of this kind of sand kind of thing will get deposit where river and seawater mixes up, right? We know that seawater contains salts, right, and salts like magnesium chloride, sodium chloride, calcium chloride, and all these contains ions, right? And river water contains negatively charged impurities, right? So when this seawater, right, mixes up with river water, these charged ions will neutralize these negatively charged impurities. These negatively charged impurities are colloidal in nature, right? These negatively charged impurities are colloids, right? So when these ions will neutralize the negative charge on these colloidal particles, they will come close to one another, right, and will form bigger particles, which is your delta, because these impurities are coagulated. These impurities in river water are coagulated or deposited in the form of deltas, right? We call it delta because it's a Greek alphabet delta. It deposits in the form of delta, right? So that is why we call it as delta, right? So ions that are present in seawater will neutralize the charge, right, on the impurities, colloidal impurities present in river water, right? So when charge is neutralized, right, from ions, right, these colloidal particles will coalesce or come close together, right, to settle down, right? They will coagulate or precipitate, right, to deposit the delta at the mouth of the river, right? This delta is deposited by these impurities which are present on the river water, right? This is the coagulation. It's basically the coagulation of the delta. This delta that you see is the coagulation of impurities, of negatively charged impurities present in river water. And how these impurities are precipitated or coagulated? Due to the charged ions present in seawater, right? And there is one more thing. When someone shaves, right, when someone shaves and all of a sudden a person starts bleeding, right, what he does is he applies alum onto the place where it starts bleeding, right? How does alum stops bleeding? Right, we know that blood is a colloidal solution, right, of albuminoid substance, right? Basically we say that blood is a colloidal solution, right? And we know that alum, right, how blood is stopped when you apply alum. This is the question. We know that blood is a colloidal solution. It is a colloid, right? So it will have these colloidal particles